because the Seahawks absolutely kicked ass in the Super Bowl, and we could not be a football podcast without being this close to the Super Bowl and talking about the Super Bowl, giving our thoughts. It was quite a beatdown. 29-13 was the final score. It was not that close. I mean, I'm talking about a 16-point game not being that close. From the first whistle, I felt like, hey, the Seahawks are just going to outclass these guys. They were more physical. Their defense certainly was a mismatch against the Patriots offense. There's a lot to break down here, but I go back to what I said to you at the end of the NFC Championship game, where I said, and a lot of people said, that kind of felt like the Super Bowl. Like that felt like the two best teams, the Seahawks and the Rams, playing each other. It was a close game. Matthew Stafford was excellent. The Seahawks defense, for the first time in a long time, seemed vulnerable. Sam Darnold was out there throwing dots. I mean, going band for band with Stafford. That, from a product standpoint, from a team standpoint, felt like the Super Bowl. And then when it was Seattle and New England, there was a 4.5 point spread. A lot of people tried to convince themselves, hey, the Patriots have a shot. Hey, the Patriots are right there. They're just as good as Seattle. Their defense, I heard people say their defense is better than Seattle's. I think a lot of people kind of knew the truth, and obviously Sunday proved that. It was virtually a no contest.
It was really funny, the conversation leading into this game, because when the matchup was first decided, right, and the Patriots were just coming off of a narrow victory against the Jarrett Stidham led Denver Broncos in a hurricane, and not a hurricane, in a snowstorm, whatever you want to call it. Point is, the weather had a huge impact on the game for the benefit of the Patriots, yet they won that game very narrowly. And the fact that they all season long have kind of been getting gimmies, right? I mean, everyone's heard the Drake, the schedule May, and all the stuff people are using to discredit the Patriots, but it is valid. It is valid. And when the Super Bowl matchup was first decided, people were kind of on the same page of, yeah, the Patriots don't really belong here. The Seahawks are a very good team. This is going to be a one sided affair. But what does the media always do, right? We find a way very often to kind of connect the dots in a way that create our favorite top possible product. And our favorite possible product would have been much more of a game, much more of a matchup, close Vegas odds as opposed to really spread out ones, right? If the Seahawks stayed what were they initially? What, 10-point favorites, right?
They were out of the gate. I think they were 5.5, and
Were
then it
they?
got yeah. Like that's what I'm saying. It was kind of low, and then
It didn't feel that way.
and then
Like, based off the conversation around this game, it
yeah.
felt like everyone was on the same page. "Oh, it's Seattle.
Well,
It's Seattle. It's Seattle."
70%
But
of the
then a
money
week
was in
later.
on Seattle, which is a
Yes.
lot. I think
Mhm.
it was the most ever.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
exactly. But then we saw over time, around when Radio Row opened up, all of a sudden people are saying, sneakily, the Patriots have a really good play action defense. The Seahawks aren't very good on third and long. The Patriots have the ability to generate explosives, all this stuff. And suddenly this feels like it's going to be a game again. And I have always been saying that, let's be honest, the Patriots didn't belong here. I thought they're a good team, but they don't belong in the Super Bowl. And that was only proven right when the ball was kicked off and the Seahawks just marched instantly, right? I think some credit needs to be given to the Patriots defense, because I do think they held up well early. Uh, but still, Seahawks were constantly able to get into field goal range, and the Seahawks constantly took advantage when they got in field goal range. Shout out Jason Myers, Marist University legend.
NFL
Uh,
all-time leading scorer now for a single season.
yes,
Shout out
exactly.
my boy.
Most field goals made in a Super Bowl. Should have been Super Bowl MVP. No, I don't know if I'll go that far. But as a
I
Marist
think
Red
the other
Fox,
special teamer should have been MVP. Michael Dixon,
yeah,
three punts inside the six.
As a Marist Red Fox, I do have to rep though. So
You do.
actually, Jason Myers being snubbed for Super Bowl MVP might be the biggest snub in Super Bowl history, or even NFL history, because again, I have to rep. So, in all seriousness, Seahawks just BTA the entire game. Entire game. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're not. And I also wanted to ask you if you had seen your boy Jason Myers on the plane ride home from the Super Bowl. He had the AirPod case and the Zins. he's living life, man. 5 field goals in the Super Bowl. Papa's in on the plane. He's a champ. Do whatever you want. But no, I mean, I know I said I was like stressed out. Obviously, it's my team playing in the Super Bowl. But it was a really weird experience because at no point were the Patriots ever really threatening. I mean, you could say, hey, they scored, Drake May had 230 yards of passing in the fourth quarter. Siri, what's the definition of garbage time? Like that my Siri actually went off. Oops. Um, but people are like, well, he got a lot of yards and a couple touchdowns. Like that didn't matter. The game was over. The game was over. I mean, when Barner scored that touchdown, that was the official ending of that game. But the game was over when the opening kickoff left the foot of Borregales. Like that's just the reality. The Patriots were never going to win this game. It
Well,
wasn't a drop pass. It wasn't a pick. It wasn't a fumble. It was belt to ass from play one to play whatever it was. And you have people in the media like Dave Portnoy complaining. Well, the game was played in the West Coast, and that's why they had an advantage. It's predetermined, dipshit. Like I don't understand. So yeah,
it's very funny. It's very
yeah.
funny. Kind of the coping that we're seeing, but I think the mistake that we're seeing across the board is instead of, oh yeah, this team was great. This team was great. And this is just how modern media has been. But instead it's a conversation of, oh, this team was very bad. And I feel like everyone acknowledges that the Seahawks are a very good team, but it doesn't feel like there's enough. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl. It feels like it's way more of the Patriots lost the Super Bowl. And
I think
again,
it's
that's how it always seems to work, but that's been
I
especially
think
prevalent.
if you ask the media darlings, it's the Rams lost the Super Bowl. Like everybody, I think, accepts the fact that the Seahawks are better than the Patriots, especially where the Patriots are at right now, year one of the Vrabel experience. Like people think that they're ahead of schedule, right? If you ask like all of these people in the media, like they're so crying about Matthew Stafford, it's like, well, I still think the Rams are the best team. It's like, dude, they lost to Seattle. They're a missed field goal away from losing to Seattle 3 times. 3 times.
Yeah.
So
But
for
at the same time, let's
same
be
time, what?
honest. This game, all those games were especially close.
No,
Like
they were absolutely,
I think
and
I think again, the Rams, I feel very good about saying the Rams are the second best team in the league,
yeah,
but the Seahawks are the best because they got those 3 plays that decided those games. 2 of them went in their favor.
yeah.
And the most important one of those games, the plays went in Seattle's favor more
A-
often. And
And
I
people
think
people are
that
like,
game
oh, well,
especially.
they dropped a punt. It's like, well, yeah, Reek Willen also like leapt down the sideline like a
Mhm.
dipshit, taunting, and then got cooked the next play. So there's 2 anomalies that happened to both teams. I don't want to hear the fact that the Seahawks didn't deserve to win or the Rams got unlucky or whatever. It happens, right?
The
Um,
Seahawks showed off everything that made them a Super Bowl
yeah,
champion, though, in that game. And
yeah,
there's no doubting that. At first, I felt like it was going to be a very blitz heavy game plan from Mike MacDonald. I did, but May was only blitzed on 13% of his dropbacks. It
and,
felt like it was going to be a lot more because in the first few drives, it was a lot. But
yeah.
then we saw him show a lot of pressure and not actually send it. And that's partially because of how much he was able to win with just his front four. And he did. Drake May was pressured on over half of his dropbacks. In fact, he got pressured on the highest rate in a playoff game since 2023. It was game wrecking pressure throughout. The disguises gave May issues. He double clutched the ball a lot and took far too long to get the ball out. And I think the biggest thing that defense did well was how they limited yards after the catch. And they did that all year long, but they especially showed up. It was that and the pass rush. Those were the 2 things that won them the game on the defensive side.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is in the Patriots kind of film study, I don't know that they expected Devin Witherspoon to be flying off the edge like he was. This is a guy who I think they said had 13 pass rush snaps all year. And then for the game plan to be, hey, we're going to send you. We're going to just go after Drake May. And, we'll get into Will Campbell in a second. But when you have a corner, when you have a slot corner swim moving, a franchise left tackle, you have no chance. Like that was clearly the plan for the Seahawks. They saw an advantage with Witherspoon. It's crazy that they have 2 guys like that, Emanwari and Witherspoon, who they're just like, yeah, go get the quarterback, dude. You go ahead. Like Spoon could have 10 sacks if he was blitzed at a high enough rate. Uh, So it's incredible. I know we talked about Super Bowl MVP. Should have been Jason Myers or should have been Michael Dixon. That was the real pick. I think,
No,
truthfully, it probably
no way.
should have gone to Devin Witherspoon. His stats took a little bit of a hit because they counted that Drake May as a interception, not a sack, forced fumble recovery by Uchenna Nwosu. So that hurt his stats a little bit. But to me, he was the best player on the field on Sunday. He was all over the place, just completely nuked anything the Patriots were trying to do. And obviously, we got to talk about Kenneth Walker, who was the MVP of this game. To me, it's a very unique MVP in the sense that obviously this is the first running back Super Bowl MVP we've seen since Terrell Davis in the late 90s with those Denver Broncos teams, those Mike Shanahan zone run, John Elway, Swan Song teams, right? But the difference between that and Kenneth Walker had a good day, right? I mean, he had a buck 35, whatever. Kenneth Walker did not score a touchdown. And I think that that's really funny to me that he got Super Bowl MVP without scoring a touchdown. That has to be one of the first times that happened. Not to discredit him, he was phenomenal. This was a day where the Seahawks offense was kind of sloppy. The Patriots made a very conservative effort to take away Jack Smith-Njigba, as I knew they would. And Sam Darnold wasn't at his A game. So they needed Kenneth Walker for that consistent running, and he was great. He was bouncing tackles. First play, breaks to the left, gets the first down, sets the tone. But this was a very, I think, unique Super Bowl MVP because there wasn't one dominant statistical performer for the Seahawks on Sunday.
This was the first time I've ever heard people legitimately ask, can a unit win Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah.
And that, of course, proves your point because it didn't really feel like there was one specific player. But at the same time, it's most valuable player. What are we? No, you can't give it to DeMarcus Lawrence and Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. No, that's not how it works.
The real
So
MVP was, though, should have been Will Campbell. Just
well,
saying.
I gotta say
What one
the
player helped the
entire
Seahawks win the Super Bowl the most? Will Campbell.
the entire Patriots offensive line couldn't hold up,
That
and
is
that was
true.
partially because this pass rush, right?
Yeah, that is
And
true.
they did it by keeping fresh legs on the field, right? Even Riley Mills, their 5th-round rookie, got out there and crucified Jared Wilson on his sack, tackling both Drake May and Jared Wilson in the same play. That was an awesome one. Like I said, 52% pressure rate, highest mark in a playoff game since 2023. You mentioned the Devon Witherspoon play. That was crazy. They sent him a few times throughout this game. Their pressure packages are crazy, and they're especially effective because of how often they like to show pressure and then get out of it, kind of disguise certain things, send sim pressures, and cause issues for you in that way. And that led to yet another bad performance from Drake May, potentially an all-time bad playoff run, right? I mean, how many quarterbacks do you see look this bad, put up those poor of numbers throughout an entire playoff run? I do think there's some legitimacy to saying it's about the supporting cast, but Drake May is not free of the blame.
No, he's not. And I think the one thing that he could not do throughout these playoffs, or what any quarterback shouldn't do in the playoffs, is turn the ball over, right? Say what you will about Sam Darnold and how he played in the Super Bowl. I will admit, not his best game ever. Did not turn the ball over. In fact, for the guy who saw ghosts and for the guy who is a pumpkin, didn't have a single turnover the entire postseason. That's besides the point. Whatever. Drake May's turnover woes, we saw in the Chargers game. We're like, man, he's got to hold on to the football. But the Chargers defense is good. And then it was the Texans, like, man, he's got to hold on to the football. But the Texans DNs are great. And then against the Broncos, it was like, dude, you really got to hold on to the football. And he just was not able to correct that, right? 3 turnovers in the Super Bowl. Listen, I understand that the game was kind of on his shoulders and he tried to make a play and whatever. But some of the turnovers he made, I mean, that the interception to Julian Love was like, what are you thinking, dude? What are you doing? Like, Julian Love was mic'd up and he was talking. He was like, this is a rookie quarterback. This guy's not Stafford. He is going to look for his guy, wait a beat to make sure he's open, and then throw it. Whereas Stafford just sees it, flings it, right? That's the difference between a veteran quarterback and a young quarterback like Drake May. The reality is that he was so loose with the football. And it's kind of an absolute miracle that they even made to the Super Bowl, truthfully, because they went up against a horrible Justin Herbert performance, a abysmal, like, God help me, CJ Stroud performance, and then a backup quarterback who gave them the ball at the goal line because of a chest pass fumble. Like, this, people were like, well, they're better than their schedule and this, that, whatever. And you look at what happened at the playoffs, and it's hard to have faith in that. It's hard to have faith in that
Well,
formula. And
I
when Drake
I think there is something to be said about that. I think that there is some legitimacy to May was elevating this team, right? He
was,
was. And
yes,
well, and eventually he stopped. You're right. But
yes,
he's a second-year quarterback going against, I mean, you just said it, four of the top defenses in the NFL.
yeah,
And he has nothing. I mean, people talk about the play to Austin Hooper. That was an overthrow. It looked really bad on TV, but then you go back and look at the All-22. It was a disguised cover one look, right? The Seahawks rotate into cover one post snap, and Austin Hooper can easily get open on his corner route, but instead he really telegraphs the movement. He takes way too long to make his break, and May overthrows him because he had very poor tempo on the route. That's a game-changing play potentially. That was in the late fourth, and they were down pretty big. But if they were going to change the momentum of that game, like Patriots quarterbacks love to do in playoff games, that would have been a moment where it could have happened. Instead, Austin Hooper ran a poor route. Throughout the game, guys were struggling to separate. Throughout the game, the offensive line wasn't holding up. Again, May isn't free of blame, but
no,
it's hard to be a one-man show when you're against this caliber of
yeah,
defensive
and
units.
he is not the reason they lost. Like, to be clear, they lost. They were just outmanned, top to bottom, front to back by Seattle. But his performance and his looseness with the football certainly did not help. Um,
Oh, yeah.
so, again, people are going to talk about, well, every second-year quarterback to make a Super Bowl and lose hasn't been back. To me, that's a stat that doesn't matter. Like, that's
That's so like
so
every
circumstantial.
every quarterback with the last name May and starts with their first name starts with D,
Yeah,
who was born after this date, uh, is
every head.
guaranteed to be in the MVP conversation. Like, what
Yeah,
are we talking about?
it's like every quarterback and offensive coordinator duo named after a Nickelodeon show have only lost a Super Bowl. They're 0-1 in all Super Bowls. I don't know if you knew that stat.
Yeah,
I
there
just
you
made
go.
it up myself. Shout out Warren Sharp. Anyways, not that he makes up stats. I don't know why I said that.